Hello, welcome to Queer Cinema Catchup. I'm Joe.
And I'm Allison.
And this is the podcast where we talk about queer movies, queer television, queer miscellaneous topics that sometimes aren't even queer at all, but they're told through our queer lens, which we consider makes them queer.
Exactly.
Today we'll be talking about the new Billie Eilish album called
Hit Me Hard and Soft.
I love in the beginning of these podcasts, you start really quietly. And then towards the end of the podcast, I can see the waveforms.
It's unfortunate. You know, I don't have headphones. I feel like I need to clarify. And so I don't really have a good sense of how loud I'm being.
So how are you?
I'm good. What's happening?
Saturday, early afternoon.
Yes.
So the album's been out for about 2 days. It was released on midnight yesterday. Right?
Oh, so like Thursday. Because we're on the West Coast, so we can listen to albums at 9 o'clock.
Yeah. The way that it'll work today is we've already listened to the album and
separately.
We're going to do like a little commentary on what we thought of the album with our first listen. And then we're going to go through each song individually, listen to it off mic, and then share our thoughts on it after we listen to it.
Precisely. Just before we begin, we should probably say why we decided to do this album. And of course, like we said in the intro, sometimes we're going to do topics that aren't queer related, but have our particular queer spin. Mm-hmm. But this does have a clear queer connection, which is that Billie Eilish came out this year, last year, the end of last year, as queer or bi, I'm not quite sure which.
But was it an interview where...
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about it right now?
Yeah, I think we should. So there's a little bit of like controversy that surrounded it in that she was, I think, on the cover of Variety. Actually, I looked it up. Let me pull up my notes for you. In this Variety article where she was on the cover and had a cover story attached, she was quoted as saying, "She hasn't always been a girl's girl. In fact, she spent much of her life plagued by the assumption that other women don't like her. Quote, I've never really felt like I could relate to girls very well," Eilish says. "I love them so much. I love them as people. I'm attracted to them as people. I'm attracted to them for real." And then a little later in the article, she said, "I have deep connections with women in my life, the friends of my family, in my life, the family in my life. I'm physically attracted to them, but I'm also so intimidated by them and their beauty and their presence." Mm-hmm. So this article came out and people were like, oh, Billie Eilish came out as queer in some capacity. She likes girls. She's had like a common experience of feeling kind of intimidated by girls and not really maybe as when she was younger, I'm projecting, but realizing her attraction to them. But then a few days later, she was on the red carpet, and I think it was a Variety reporter, I'm not sure who it was, said, actually, we should play the clip. Should we play the clip?
Sure.
Okay, but listen. Not to this ad.
What's that?
It's for Biktarvy.
There's a new drug out called Skyrizi. Ask your doctor to prescribe you Skyrizi. I'm like, what the hell is Skyrizi? It kind of creeps me out because it just seems like a bunch of advertisers got together. Like, what's a drug name? Yeah, Skyrizi.
All right, so she's on the red carpet. Variety is interviewing her. This is what happens.
Did you mean to come out in the story? Girl, no, I didn't. But I kind of thought, wasn't it obvious? Like, it's kind of been... I didn't realize people didn't know.
And then from there, a couple days later, she was upset. She was like, I feel like I've been outed.
But I went to grad school and I just assumed everybody knew. And I like came out to one of my directors there. He's like, I knew. And I was like, oh shit, everyone knows. And then one of my other directors that I worked with, I was hanging out with one of my friends and she was like, oh, is that your girlfriend? I was like, no, what is that? I was like, no, I'm gay. Because what I said in the response, she's like, I had no idea that you were gay. And then another time with two directors I work with, and we were out getting tacos one day.
This is a really strange story though.
And I'd gone there late, and so they already had their tacos. And I would like in line by myself, and one of the directors to the other director was like, Joe, you know, standing over there, he almost looks like he'd be straight, right? And then the other director who didn't know I was gay, he's like, yes, but why do you say that? And then the other director was like, well, because he's gay.
It sounds like a really mean comment, but if you knew the guy, he's just...
How would you describe him? He's just...
full of life, affable, and never intentionally trying to put someone down.
Yeah. But it's so interesting with Billie, how she's just like, I thought people already knew, which is kind of my motto too, which I don't know what that says about me.
Well, I did have an ex once tell me that she wouldn't have clocked me.
What's like the signifier of being a lesbian?
There is no signifier. The spectrum is pretty broad. And especially nowadays where like bisexual people among Gen Z is like very high. Like I think it's just becoming much more normalized. People are discovering their identities because there's more space for it, which is great news.
Yeah.
And so you can't really necessarily put a style on it.
No.
But the reason that reaction came up was because I was at this job and there was going to be a Pride event and they were like blasting it on the emails, and I was like, oh, I want to go to that. And then this new coworker who's like this really nice, cool girl, and she did kind of read queer, so maybe you can kind of tell. There's like an essence. I know I'm just contradicting myself left and right, but she was chatting, and then she was like, yeah, I'm going to go to like the Pride event with my girlfriend this weekend. And I was like, oh, me too. And then I was relaying this to my ex, and that's when I was told that. Like, I felt like I had been clocked. Very quickly, I do want to add, Billie said more recently that she overreacted. And so I don't want to put that out there because about the outing situation. Okay. I just feel like I shouldn't end the story in a not complete place. And we can talk at a later time about the politics of outing. And also we should circle back around and talk about other queer artists too, unless you want to do that now.
You always do this on the podcast. Sometimes I have to cut it out all the time because you're like, and we will be circling back to this, to something that we never circle back to. And I'm like, God damn it.
Because I want to make sure. Wow, you just like really smart with the coffee.
What?
You only filled it up halfway.
You filled it halfway.
Halfway.
No, because that's the giant fucking Friends mug that you bought. That is literally a saucer pan.
I love
and filling it up halfway is basically a full cup.
I fill it up all the way. But it gets cold. I think you did the right thing. Okay, so yeah, just really quickly, there's been a lot of discourse online about younger people. Do they even need to come out anymore? Should it just be like normal? And then is it ever okay to like speculate or out somebody? And that kind of played out with the boy from Heartstopper, who was sort of forced to come out because he was seen with like a girl, and people were like, he's not inauthentic. He's playing this gay character on Heartstopper. It's not right. And he was like, well, thanks for making me come out. I'm bi. Like, I'm 19 years old. This sucks.
Well, I understand those, like, why can't straight men portray a gay character?
It's a kind of a debate, right? Like, I feel like my opinion on it is like, if they do a good job, I don't care.
Because I think that gay people should be able to play straight people too.
Exactly. The stickier issue is like, should non-trans people play trans parts? I think that's very different.
Yeah.
Because I watched this documentary, which I highly recommend, all about LGBTQ representation on TV and the history of it. They made a good point that like in the past, so many trans roles, maybe all trans roles in the past were played, I don't know if that's accurate, were played by cis people. And how like they kind of create a lot of the stereotypes that come to mind and like the mannerisms. And so like when you're watching movies from the past that have trans characters in it, you're like actually not seeing a true trans identity or the way like a trans person would behave. You're seeing like a stereotype or like a caricature and how that's dangerous, especially if it's like a man playing a woman. So I think it's like a tricky question.
Yeah. Did you ever see Dallas Buyers Club?
I did.
Jared Leto's evil, so
he's scary. I'm gonna definitively say I feel like so often on this podcast. For example, Joe made it seem like I like Elon Musk in the edit.
No, you never explicitly stated whether you like him or not.
But it goes like this. It goes, I hate him. And I go, oh. And then we move on. But yes, for the record, I don't like Elon Musk. I'm just going to put that out there. He's a bad man. Yeah. Okay.
So something that I really... Did you cover your topic of?
And I guess just one other thing is that a lot of discourse I see like in kind of like liking the theory of gay lore is people will be like, why are you even interested in this? These days there's so many out like queer women who are making excellent music, and it's so true. There's Billie, there's Renee, there's Chappelle Ronan, there's probably somebody taking this air, probably so many other people I don't even...
Muna, what's her name?
Muna.
The band.
Of course, how can I forget Muna? What's Boy Genius, etc.
Melissa Etheridge has been there the longest.
Time.
Oh my God.
The Indigo Girls.
Melissa Etheridge has an album called Your Little Secret. And it is one of the most underrated albums of all time. It came out in like 1995 or 1996. Every song is so good. But I think that it came after her album that had Come to My Window, which everyone loved that album. And then Your Little Secret kind of performed poorly because of it. But it's really good. I highly recommend. It's like a rock, bluesy kind of album. It's really good. Rock, blues, pop. I'd say like a good combination of all of that.
That sounds right up my alley.
But yeah, lots of queer women out there. So yeah, why pin it all on Taylor? But as you've talked on the podcast before, it's just kind of like she's just such a pop,
quote unquote, universal
culture, definitive figure. Now it's kind of interesting to speculate on that.
Almost because she appears so straight to so many people, there's something like kind of like victorious about the idea that like this very straight passing person could actually be queer. Like, haha.
Straight passing. Interesting.
Like, you know, extremely feminine, reads as boy crazy, whatever you want to read into that.
Well, we're not here to talk about Taylor Swift, even though she is kind of folded into the music scene, of course.
No, we're here to talk about Billie.
And one of the things about Billie that I'm really amazed with is she does a lot of her own writing on her music.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Okay, I don't know where I got this misinformation. So the first time I ever heard Billie Eilish, I was in an Uber and I was going somewhere. And I heard the song, I think it was Bury a Friend.
What do you want from me? Where do we
Yeah.
Where do you where do we go?
And I was, and I was really like I've never heard anything like this. It's kind of like creepy, but I really feel like transported. And I was like, who is this? And then I looked her up and I was like, oh my gosh, she's so young. This is crazy. And then somehow I came to believe that she was the singer and her brother Phineas was the writer. I guess that's not right. I looked, Joe, you told me that that's not accurate, and I Googled it. and they co-write, and then Phineas does, I think, almost all the music production.
Yeah, I remember the song that I first heard of hers was When the Party's Over. I lived on Capitol Hill in Seattle at the time. I just remember like walking through my neighborhood. So I like heard that, didn't really attach a name to it. I also watched this show on HBO called High Maintenance. There's one with these girls and they play Billie Eilish's Ocean Eyes, which is really her first song that came onto the scene, which it's so oh my gosh, I wish my sister Olivia was here.
Did she like that song?
Well, Phineas and Billie Eilish are a sibling duo, and way back in the day, way back in 2006, I'll have to find out and play it on here. I was the Phineas to Olivia, and we created the song Just Chill. Have you ever heard it?
No!
Best things in life are free, with so many great possibilities. Sometimes you can't do what you want to do. Sometimes it's hard to stay still. But believe me, things will get much better for you if you just chill.
Olivia at the time was 9 or 10 years old. It's so cute.
Well, I think though, Ocean Eyes, my understanding is Billie was really young, like 13 when that took off.
Yeah, she was really young.
And they released it on like SoundCloud.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
So it's such a strong start already.
And guess where our grandparents are from?
Glendale, Pasadena.
Ireland. They're Irish.
Whoa.
They're Irish. They're Irish.
I don't know what their real last name is, but Eilish isn't her real last name. It's her middle name. I'm pretty sure her name is Billie Pirate Eilish something.
Pirate?
Yeah. I think her brother got to have a say in her middle name.
Billie Eilish Pirate Bard O'Connell.
Oh, that is Irish.
Okay, early life. Billie Eilish Pirate Bard O'Connell was born in LA on December 18th, 2001. She's the daughter of actress and teacher Maggie Bard and actor Patrick O'Connell. Also musicians and work on Eilish's tour. She was homeschooled.
But yeah, the sibling dynamic
Is wonderful.
Which leads me to ask you about your sibling dynamics.
My sibling dynamics.
Questions I didn't really think of to ask you until today. You're a middle child. Do you feel like you have middle child syndrome?
Well, let's look it up because I feel like my instinct is to say yes, but then I actually don't think I know what it really is.
It's kind of like the feeling, if I were to say it without looking it up, it's like the feeling of being overlooked in every aspect. Like there's the firstborn gets a lot of attention, then the lastborn also gets a lot of attention, and it's the middle child kind of is left to figure out a lot of things for themselves.
I'm going to go with no, actually. They see middle child syndrome as the idea that if you're neither the oldest nor the youngest, you get less attention from your parents and feel caught in the middle. The caught in the middle part, or like being a peacemaker, I definitely feel like I relate to that. But because I was so achievement oriented in my youth, I feel like I did get a lot of attention for my achievements, and I felt like I was supported in that sense. And so it's a good question. Like, I don't really know what was driving me, because I definitely often like will think back and be like, oh, it was very like self-directed or self-imposed, because I think I told you a story just the other day. I remember that I always got really good grades, and I definitely received like positive affirmation for that. But I remember my freshman year of high school at a new school, I was like, all right, it's time to like, I gotta keep my good grades up. You know, I gotta be my stellar student that I've always been. And I got placed into geometry, which was like the higher math. Like I think I was in with some sophomores or whatever, and it was
Geometry honors.
And I had my first quiz and I got a C, and I was so devastated and upset. And then I showed my mom, and they were like, oh, okay, that's all right. And inside I was like, what? It is not okay. They think that I am capable of this. I was like, no, I will not get C. So that I never got another C again.
I don't really care about doing well. The only reason I didn't want to like do poorly is because I knew there were consequences. Like basically the way I functioned is, and I remember I had a history teacher that said this at the beginning of the school year, and it kind of stuck with me, but I didn't follow it. He's like, put it this way. There's some of you that do poorly all year and then really go all out for their midterms and finals and skirt by. But he's like, instead of starting out at a hole that you have to dig yourself out of, how about you just never get in the hole?
He's right.
And it really stuck with me, but I'd never follow it. I was always the one digging myself out of a hole, and I'd do it, and I'd usually end up with a B or a B minus in these classes. But always around midterm, it was before, you know, I was going all out and cramming for everything. So I knew I was getting bad midterms. And I just was like so afraid of my parents' reactions. Like I remember 7th grade, I think maybe I got like a D in a
grade,
class.
that's so little.
And it was like the beginning of summer, and I was like so like excited to like not be in school anymore. It was like a really summery, like sunny evening, and I was like watching. I think I was watching like the movie Must Love Dogs by myself. I don't know why. And my dad came bursting in the room. He's like, a day, and he's like screaming at me, and I was like, oh god. And at that point, there was no way for me to dig out. But now in high school, I kind of had that fear in the back of my mind.
I don't want to be yelled at again.
And I knew I had like gotten bad grades, and if my parents saw it, they'd get really mad. They'd probably like send me to a tutor or something. And I did not want that.
Yeah.
And so I'd be the first one to the mail and I'd find what I assumed was my grades mailed home to my parents. And I'd either like hide it or I'd throw it away. And then towards the end of my high school, junior and senior year, I definitely got like better. But at that point, they were posting grades online, which was
Well, I was about to say that.
hell on earth for
That
someone like
sucks
me.
for the kids today. Apparently today it's like so,
You can like check in, I'm sure, all the time.
and they give you notifications.
Oh my God, that
it's like horrible.
would drive me out of my mind.
Especially like I can see it for little kids, but like for high schoolers, it should be a time where you're like kind of starting, like the fact that my parents like, that's okay that you guys see, and then I was like, no, it's not okay. It was like really identity forming for me. Do you know what I'm saying? So like I feel like you got to give kids a little bit agency at that time.
Yeah.
I had this really intense Spanish teacher. She was an excellent teacher, excellent, and I really learned Spanish. But she was kind of scary. We were doing AP practice tests and we like took one, and then she was like looking it over and she like came bursting into the classroom saying this all in Spanish. You guys, I am disgusted.
Can you say it in Spanish?
I don't want to.
Say it, please. Come on.
No.
How do you say disgusting in Spanish?
I actually don't. I don't remember.
Disgustivo.
No, I don't think it's that. I think it's after the A. I'll look it up. Ascarosa. Something with an A. Ascarosa. So she came in, she's like, I'm disgusted with you all. These essays are such poor quality. None of you are going to get 5s on the AP exam. Leave my class. And we all had to go leave the class.
Was she exaggerating? Not all of you could really have that.
We all got, I think all of us got 5s. Maybe someone got a 4. Like which is really, was very rare.
But this was
at the
leading
time.
up to
Yeah.
the exam.
I really think our essays were probably fine. And it was like a tactic to make us study even harder. And it worked. Senorita Basson, thank you for teaching me Spanish and being a very effective teacher, even though
Say
you
it in
sometimes
Spanish.
scared me. Muchas gracias por ser una maestra muy buena que... I don't know what else to say.
I just think you have this incredible ability that you should be
I feel
nourishing.
like I feel like I'm really good at reading Spanish. I'm pretty good at writing it, but speaking it, I just lose all confidence and I avoid it, and so I don't think it's very good. And then I'm also always thinking about the people who can actually understand it and who are listening to me and judging me.
Are you okay sharing with the audience that you'll be going?
Oh yeah, I'm going to Mexico City in a few days for work. All right, so back to Billie.
Billie Eilish's Hit Me Hard and Soft is the third LP or EP. No, LP.
What is that?
LP, I believe, means long play, which is like your traditional album, where EP is like extended play, which is kind of like what is kind of a trend back in the day. Like Lady Gaga did it for the Bad Romance extension of her album, and Kesha did it for the extension of her Animal or whatever album that was. It's like 5 or 6 songs that are kind of tacked onto an album, or sometimes they're just like really separately if an artist doesn't have a complete album out. And I wonder if they're just easier for an artist to release, because there's something going around right now where allegedly Cardi B was supposed to drop her LP.
Oh.
But she was saying that she doesn't feel it's up to quality, and so she doesn't want to release it, which is actually kind of rare. And her label's trying really hard to release the album. Whereas usually it's kind of the opposite. Whereas musicians at times have albums they want to release and a label won't
says no.
like back it, because there's a whole thing of like the price of marketing, like all that stuff, like planning out the tour, all that thing. So it's interesting.
Not to say this isn't true, but it seems to me like if you are working with a label or a management company, like they would have the ultimate say. And so I'm going to go and say that's maybe PR, the Cardi B thing, to get people.
I think it is some PR there.
It's going to come out. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
I know nothing about music, and I'm telling you, this LP's coming out.
All right. So now the way this is going to go is Allison and I are going to listen to each song.
Correct.
And then hop back on and give our feedback on it.
Are we going to leave the microphones running or no?
Maybe I'll just stop it so I don't.
You have to listen to it all.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
We will be starting with song number 1, which is called Skinny. Do you still cry? And that's a really beautiful song.
It's really peaceful.
Yeah. Well, so we listened to this album on the way back from seeing Civil War. We were late to the game on that movie, which both of us enjoyed.
I really liked it.
And we were driving back. I was like, oh, the new Billie album came out. Let's play it. And we listened to this song. We had the music playing, but then just naturally we just started talking over it. So I knew that night. I was like, okay, I need to actually give it a real listen. So I listened to it on my headphones. But this song, I think we actually sat through when we were driving back.
It was really like, because the movie it's very action-packed, kind of dark movie. And so this song was like, felt very fitting to listen to after, because it is very like centering. It was dark, but like the lights of LA were lit up around us, and you could see all the palm trees, like kind of aglow, and the movie posters, which, you know, I think she's kind of commenting on the entertainment industry in this song, whether that's music or film.
Yeah, centering. But I remember even saying at the end, whoa, heavy, because like all of the like orchestra swells at the end of the song, and there's like this like really beautiful violin that goes like da na na
Yeah.
na 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 that might get repeated throughout other songs.
Oh.
Throughout, I could be wrong, but I think it happens in the middle and the
cool.
end. When I first played the album, I was like, Allison, guess what the name of the song is?
And I wanted to say skinny because the only word I could remember, but I felt like, no,
You didn't say
it
it.
can't be that.
But I think she only says it once in the song, right?
Mm-hmm.
But 2 lines outside that stuck out to me is she said that 21 took forever. Is that right?
A lifetime.
A lifetime. And then another one is like how the internet is always looking for something funny and you have to like continue feeding it.
The meanest kind of
The
funny.
meanest kind of funny, and someone's got to feed it.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really interesting.
I mean, I think it just is like the idea of like you're in the public eye, you're going to be under scrutiny, and yet maybe the way you were before you kind of cared about that scrutiny is actually the part that you like the best or the real you.
Yeah. And I think that in the age of the internet, we haven't really seen the long-term effects of what internet usage does. We even talked about being in school and now how kids can probably be getting like constant updates like daily on how they performed on something, and just that instant feedback. What
Do you think in the future that we're going to have more rules? Like right now in high school, I think kids can bring their phones. I'm sure there's like rules like don't use it in class or whatever, or no using it in the halls, but kids have it. I feel like there's going to be like much more stricter rules about technology. We're either going to go down the path of like everybody's strapped into their devices at all times, or they're going to realize it's not good for children's development to be constantly receiving information. They're going to restrict it in schools. I think they should.
I don't think it is good for
It's not. It's horrible.
development, but I think it's inescapable.
But I just think like, were there rules about driver's license, but then eventually, or like drinking age? No. And then they're like, wait, we need these things.
Yeah.
I just think there's going to be something like that where eventually
Like, do I think a 7-year-old
heads
child should be
prevail.
making an Instagram account? No. Like, there needs to be restrictions for things.
I think there should be.
The rules and regulations will get kind of figured out as we go along. And realize,
Hopefully, unless Project 2025 succeeds. And then I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe there'll be no technology at
What's
all.
Project 2025?
I just found out about this. It's really disturbing. It's been this project that a bunch of Republican think tanks and former Trump administration people have been like developing for years. And it's a plan if Trump or another Republican were to win this year, they have a plan to like fire thousands upon thousands of civil servants and replace them with Trump loyalists / people who are loyal to this Christian right idea of what the government should be. And I was reading about it. It's really creepy. It's really scary. Let's hope that doesn't happen.
I love how we're just on this one song. We're just can't help but just
The power of Billy. The
married
power
to different
of Billy.
We were watching Hacks yesterday. Deborah Vance and Ava are lost in the forest, and they both start screaming help over and over again. And then Ava's like, stop, stop, stop. I read somewhere that you're not supposed to yell help because no one will come and help you. They think it's like some kind of like domestic situation. And then Deborah's like, of course you're supposed to yell fire. And then Ava's like, no, because you're supposed to yell. Why are you doing this to me? I don't even know you. Why are you doing this to me? I don't even know you. Anyway, when you're lost out in the woods and you don't have food on you, you probably are craving some lunch. Let's listen to it. Song number 2.
Lunch.
Lunch. Lunch is the lead single off this album. Having already listened to the full thing, it's probably the most catchiest song at first listen.
Also, probably the gayest.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. It's very catchy, as you said. I think it's interesting. We just realized today, we were like walking, talking about the album, and realized that like following up Skinny with a song called Lunch is so interesting, and kind of listening to them side by side right now. If the first song's kind of about being like a woman in the public eye and how there's this scrutiny and you have to contort to fit yourself to a certain image, and then the next one to be this very queer song and to be very positive and catchy and fun, it's kind of like maybe an answer to the first song in a way. And I really appreciate that.
Indulging on your desires and things you want.
Yeah.
Billie, in terms of her style, has kind of been countercultural in a way. Like usually pop star women especially have to wear, very svelte, revealing outfits and kind of
I think
showing
it's
off
changed,
their bodies.
though, a little bit. Don't you think? From when we were young.
Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, Dua Lipa.
Yeah.
I feel like they all wear very revealing outfits, which is fine. You should be able to express yourself how you want to express yourself. But this obligation to like reveal a lot of skin or wear really revealing outfits, I think Billie's gone the opposite direction. It's kind of an extreme of wearing just like really baggy clothes, and she's created this whole style out of it. And there's the music video for Lunch came out, and
I haven't
you
seen
saw.
it.
I mean, you saw like a photo of it.
I saw it still. I thought that
all,
looks really 90s.
That's all. That's the only set. She's like in this white room walking
like
around singing
dancing.
the song, and it's like supposed to look like a late 90s music video. But yeah, I'd say like Skinny was like, I see like the color blue, like you're floating on blue waves, and then Lunch is like you're surfing on the waves. Like, I just feel like I see sand. I feel like surfers. I see myself
that.
eating a bologna sandwich. I don't know why.
I think in the first one, I see myself driving around in a car late at night like we were. And the second one, I see myself dancing around.
Such an extreme difference between the two songs. But then, yeah, as we were walking, as Allison mentioned, it was like something that seems so obvious.
Yeah.
From a Skinny to Lunch. It's not until we were like, oh, whoa.
You're like, what? It makes me really appreciate, because I feel like I listen to music and I don't stop to consider how much time and care the artist has put into like the entire package of an album.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're doing this podcast so I can appreciate art on a deeper level.
Yeah. This album has 10 songs. It really packs a punch. And now we're going to track number 3, which I'm not confident how to pronounce it. Chihiro.
Oh, I don't know. Makes me think of churros.
Chihiro.
Did she say that word in the song? I guess we'll find out.
So.
It's a good thing I read the lyrics because I discovered the answer to the title.
What's the answer?
How do you pronounce the main character's name in Spirited Away?
I don't know. But that's who it
the
is.
name. That's what it's based on. Which I think tracks with the lyrics.
All I remember from the song is like, I don't know. No. What line is that?
What?
Well, anyway, it's a very kind of like trance song, but like lo-fi trance.
Yeah, I would agree.
With like this like repeating synth that gets more and more repetitive towards the end. It's also another catchy song.
I don't really know what it's about. I mean, understanding that it's tied to Spirited Away, I guess it's about going to another metaphorically realm and being transported, but then realizing maybe it's like a metaphor for growing up. I don't really know.
Wait, which character is Chiro?
The little girl.
Oh, the girl.
So the idea in the movie Spirited Away.
Did you ever see it?
Yeah.
Oh, her parents get turned into pigs. She stays out really late and then kind of discovers this
secret world,
which
is full of strange
people that seemingly seem like villains or like scary creatures. You actually discover that there's a deeper meaning of why they are the way they are, that they get misunderstood or things have happened in their past that kind of like turn them into this. What is that from? It's like, is it from Batman? It's like, are people like inherently evil or did they like learn to become evil?
That's Wicked.
Is that really?
Yeah. You just watched the trailer. They said it like 3 times in the trailer.
You guys, that trailer, I thought it looked like a really dumb movie, and then I saw this long form trailer and I was moved.
Joe's never seen Wicked, so he is primed to be moved.
Let's just say something has changed within me. Something is not the same.
I'm through with playing by the rules of someone else's game. We'll definitely do a podcast about Wicked, of course. Part 1.
It's on the list.
How far down does the spreadsheet go?
Do you know?
Wait, you've decided what we're listening to?
No. I'm planning ahead, and I sent you the link, and I've given you all the opportunities to fill in any way you want.
I have filled things in, but I didn't see it.
And there's so many blank spaces all the way to December.
Oh, good.
I went in and found movies I thought would be fitting and filled those in on those dates, but left many blank spaces.
Thank God. Okay, so I just had a thought too. If the first song is called Skinny, and the second song is called Lunch. And then this song references Spirited Away, which...
in the beginning, they have that feast.
And they turn into pigs because they eat the food.
Oh my...
Which is also tied to mythology. You're not supposed to eat the food. So the idea is like, okay, we're restrained by society. Then there's like the second phase of being like free for all, eat what you want, dive into your pleasure. And then there's this third story, which Spirited Away is a very famous coming of age movie. So it's kind of like what happens after that, where you indulge your appetite.
I think you're onto something.
I think so.
And the cover art of Hit Me Hard and Soft, Billie's like plunged in the water. She's center in the frame underwater, facing upwards. There's an open door as if she had like fallen through, which is, what's that fear of being underwater?
Oh, I mean...
Tasmophobia or something.
I don't know what it's called. To me, that cover... When I look at it, I'm thinking about like how she came out, and I'm thinking of closet doors. It's like you come out and that is very freeing, but then there's this other period of time where it's a new identity. You're kind of plunged into the waters of uncertainty. It's not over once you do that hard part. Sorry if you haven't done it yet, but like there's so much more self-exploration and building your identity, blah, blah, blah.
It always makes me wonder, because I just feel like I've come across specifically gay men that are just very like flamboyant, or they can't help to always talk about their sexuality, or they're like always like pining after men. It just seems very, at times, what's the word for that? Overwhelming, but unnatural too, where it's like, what, you're like constantly...
like too much emphasis.
Yeah, so much emphasis on it. And now as I get older, it's kind of like nice letting everyone know where you stand. So there's no... Confusion, because I find when I meet new people, there's always that period where I'm like, at what point do I like need to be like saying that I'm gay? And there's just like no time where there really seems to be an opportunity for that.
I mean, hopefully we'll just eventually live in a culture where whenever it comes up, it's like, oh, my husband, or like, oh, I went on a date with this guy. And then people are just like, oh, okay, like there's not really a need to come out. Because that would be, ideal if it just was like another part of life. Because, guess what? It is. But yeah, I'm so glad I looked at the lyrics. Like I would never have made that connection. And now I'm kind of curious, what does this whole album say? Is it all going to relate back? I feel like as it goes on, we're going to have a harder time piecing this together.
I think you're really onto something. And then also, she has a line where she's like, to me, he.
Yeah, I did notice that.
Changes the word.
But the lyrics say me.
Oh. I wonder now, it's like we've been presented with these first 3 songs and now she's been plunged into this other world. So we'll see if the album takes
Wait,
more
what's
of
the
a...
last line quickly of that song? I want to see where it kind of like leaves. The outro is bringing my hands in my lap. Tell me it's all been a trap. And you don't know if you'll make it back. I said, no, don't say that. Bringing my hands in my lap. Tell me it's all been a trap. And you don't know if you'll make it back. No, don't say that.
Interesting.
That's written there. HM.
I was like, oh, you're really pondering this.
But probably like,
And now we'll be listening to the song Birds of a Feather, track number 4.
I remember I really like this one.
I can't even hit how high she goes.
Should stick together.
Don't make me say it. It has Caroline Polachek vibes.
It kind of does. I would say.
The song is like very like uplifting and happy.
I love it.
But
Once you want to dance.
Alice was looking at the lyrics and kind of had the start. What's the first lyric of the song?
The first lyric is, one moment, an ad popped up.
Was it a Sky Rizzy ad?
No. I want you to stay. I want you to stay till I'm in the grave, till I rot away, dead and buried, till I'm in the casket you carry. If you go, I'm going too, because it was always you. And if I'm turned blue, please don't save me. Nothing left to lose without my baby.
And what do you interpret that means?
I'm like, we are sticking together forever, no matter what, till I'm dead. But yeah, there's like a contrast. Like the song's very like, yeah, it's very like light,
euphoric,
and
uplifting.
And you're like, yeah, but
exciting.
then
You just feel like you're like a bird in the sky floating around.
yes, but the lyrics are about obsession. It sounds like to me.
Is it obsession?
I mean, it seems like someone who's like, I love you so much, I'll be together with you forever. And then there are certain lines that make me think the partner is not as invested. Like, I want you to see how you look to me. You wouldn't believe if I told you. You'd keep the compliments I throw you, but you're so full of shit.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me it's a bit.
Wait,
Say you don't see it. Your mind's polluted. Say you want to quit. Don't be stupid.
Okay. You threw a lot at me.
Sorry.
What the full of shit, what was she saying that to?
Well, you would keep all the compliments I throw you. So this person's collecting the compliments, but you're full of shit. Tell me it's a bit.
Oh.
So there's something disingenuous here about the partner, or they're like enjoying the attention, but they're not that invested. And then there's this, say you don't see it, your mind's polluted. If you say you don't see it, our love, your mind's polluted, you're crazy. Say you want to quit, don't be stupid. You'd be stupid to quit this. Forever love is my interpretation.
And I want to be with you until the day I die.
Birds of a feather, we should stick together.
Oh, wow. This is a lot
Birds
darker.
of a feather, we should stick together.
Oh my gosh, this seems like such a happy pop song to me. I kind of just see it as like the euphoria of like falling in love and you're like unable to see.
Yeah.
But what's interesting in the lyrics is like it seems like they are able to identify that the other person's not reciprocating this infatuation that they have.
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting you say that because I agree with the tone of it and the feeling of it. And then I just read on Genius, the Heartstopper season 3 is going to use this song in its new season, which is like a very lovey-dovey show. But the last line, the post-chorus, I don't even... Oh, outro, post-chorus. What are these things? I don't know.
What is this? What is she singing in the post-chorus?
I knew you in another life. You had that same look in your eyes. I love you. Don't act so surprised.
Whoa.
So I really like this song, and I appreciate the kind of contrast between the tone and the darker lyrics.
Yeah. As we've now entered in our theory, the Spirited Away
world. Or maybe emotions are heightened. Is that what we're going to theorize? Maybe?
Yeah, maybe. And she mentions the word blue.
Yes.
Which, spoiler, the last song of this album is blue. And she's submerged in water, which has like a blue color because it reflects off the sky.
I also think this song is like the other side of the stalking song.
Oh.
Because like this would be the stalker's perspective.
This is also the stalker's perspective.
I mean, it could be. Like in that the other person on the other side seems more resistant and this person's infatuated. So there is a world.
So the Birds of Feather also could be tied into the Diner song.
Yeah. So we'll have to track that.
Yeah. But can you see where she says blue?
It's in the first verse. And it's what she's talking about. Like till I'm in the grave, you know, I'll want to stay with you or whatever. And the last 2 lines are, and if I'm turning blue, please don't save me. Nothing left to lose without my baby. So it's like, don't save my life.
We'll also have to track the color blue.
Blue.
The best color.
I don't know about that.
What is yours? Orange?
I don't know. I don't know what my favorite color is.
Do you think it's a middle child syndrome to not be able to pick your favorite color?
No.
All right, now we will be listening to track number 5, which is Wildflower. Which, actually, this song I'm least...
Really?
I remember the least.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember it so well.
Why did you say?
Because I liked...
Oh, really? You like Wildflowers?
I thought you were going to say you didn't like it.
No, I liked all these songs. Da, 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 da. Wildflower.
What do you think?
I like it. It's a little calmer, a little more acoustic, if you will.
Dreamier, maybe?
Dreamier. What is your interpretation?
I actually know what it's about.
You do know what it's about.
I do. Not from my own interpretation, but from the Genius site if you want to hear. I guess before, like when I listened to this song, I didn't really know what it was about. I didn't know, honestly. I just kind of like, it was very melodic. I was just certain lines stuck out to me, like the girl crying on her shoulder in the hotel. That stood out to me. This line, like a fever, like I'm burning alive, like a sign. The whole line is the chorus. But I see her in the back of my mind all the time, like a fever, like I'm burning alive, like a sign. Did I cross the line?
Oh.
That sounds kind of gay, but I don't think that it really is in the full context of the song. But here's what it's actually about, which I mean...
Is this Genius wrote it on the site?
Yeah. It says, Wildflower is the 5th track from Billie Eilish's 3rd studio LP. It recounts Eilish's experience in comforting a girl after a difficult breakup and having a romantic relationship with the person that the girl broke up with. The title of the song may be an allusion to Wildflower Cases, a brand founded by Devin Carlson, who had previously dated Eilish's now ex-boyfriend, Jesse Rutherford, frontman of an alternative rock band, The Neighborhood. Billie seems to have befriended Devin Lee Carson and was seen out with her this year.
Billie used to date Jesse. Who's this other woman?
Devin then dated Jesse.
And then Billie started being
friends with Devin. Yes. Again,
what does that mean, crossing the line? Like she finds Devin attractive?
I'm not quite sure. Maybe the story is told from Devin's point of view. I don't really know. I kind of don't like necessarily mapping real world romance onto a song.
I'm trying to figure out who's the perspective. We don't have to be literal with the names, but like what's it about? Like what's it saying?
The singer was comforting this girl who was broken up with. So she's like friends with this person, like comforting them, but at the same time is attracted to and beginning a relationship with the person who broke this girl's heart. And then thinking every time we're doing something, I'm thinking in the back of my mind of the girl who's hurt.
But you keep saying the singer, but it's not necessarily from Billie's perspective. It's just kind of like a...
That's what I mean by the singer. Like the person who's singing is their point of view.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Not necessarily Billie, but like whoever she's supposed to be inhabiting.
How does this fall into Spirited Away? Who's the director? Miyazaki. There's like a lot of scenes of him showcasing nature and lying in the long grass and the wildflowers also goes into that too.
Yeah.
Do they say wildflowers in the song at all?
No.
I love when you answer your SAT questions. If you were to tack on why the song is called Wildflower in relation to the themes that you think the song is about.
Well, I'm going to use Dolly Parton's song, Wildflower. That's help here.
I don't know that song.
It's a good song.
How's it go?
Okay. The hills were alive. Well, see, I'm not gonna, I can't sing the song, so I'm not going to sing it in my real singing voice.
Okay.
Because it's too like Dolly, high pitched. I can't do it. The hills were alive with wildflowers and I was as wild, even wilder than they. For at least I could run. They just died in the sun. I refused to just wither in place. But basically, there's a line in here about how wildflowers don't care where they grow. Wildflowers don't care where they grow, something like that. Mm-hmm. Your love blooms wherever it blooms, right? Yeah. So even if you feel tied to this other person emotionally, you could fall in love with their ex. Your feelings, you can't control them. They're going to grow wherever they grow.
Oh, I really like that. Yeah, your feelings, you can't control them. They sprout out anywhere. Kind of like a wildflower, like just pop up anywhere.
Yeah.
We will now be listening to track number 6, which is The Greatest.
Oh, you were saying it was the greatest one. I was like, oh my God.
Man, am I the greatest. It kind of reminds me a lot of the second half of Happier Than Ever.
Yeah, I like that. And I just really like the evolution here. Like,
yeah, there's really good evolution in this song.
And then she recognizes it by the end, which I think is really impressive from like a psychological perspective, I guess. I don't know. But like that she is like almost like full of this resentment. And it's like, I'm the greatest partner to put up with you. And you just give me nothing. And I'm giving you all of this and you don't seem to care. I'm the fucking greatest. And then by the end, she's kind of seeing that beneath that resentment and anger is like hurt. Like, you know, you could have been the greatest. And I just really love that like shift.
You could have been the greatest as in yourself.
Like I imagine she's singing to a partner and at the end she's saying, instead of being like, I'm the greatest, I did all this for you, like I loved you, I admired you, blah, blah, blah. But then at the end it's like, I really wish I didn't have to say this, but you could have been the greatest. I think I imagine that to mean like the love of my life if you had just given me what I needed or what I wanted. And I just find that to be very a cool evolution.
I'm just so curious if this is the same person hypothetically that the singer's talking about from other songs. It seems like they were really not a good match.
Probably. And I really like this line. You said your heart was jaded. You couldn't even break it. Like somebody who's so cynical or like so unable to like, who's like so jaded or, and then they're like, they're not even like brave enough to let their heart be broken because they're so like protective. And that's really a protective feature. Because if you aren't jaded, then you're willing to put your heart out there and get it stomped on. Possibly.
Have you had your heart stomped on?
I don't know. Have you?
Yes. Do you mean like you genuinely don't know or you don't want to reveal?
I don't know, you know?
Have you ever felt heartbroken?
For sure.
Okay.
But I feel like...
But you've never had your heart stomped on?
I want to say no one has or perhaps I've never allowed anyone to do that because it's one of the two things. I've been fortunate enough that no one has ever been so cruel, but also I probably have not risked enough to have that happen.
I feel like I've had my heart stomped on, but I wouldn't call the other person cruel. Maybe in the moment, at the time, absolutely. Like, how could you? Honestly, that's probably why I resonate with this album so much. It's like, how can you not see that? We're like meant to be together. Like
birds of a feather. We need to be together.
Yeah, kind of that. I kind of like look back and reflect. I'm like, oh.
Well, I guess I'm drawing
a little too infatuated with this.
I'm drawing a distinction between. I think if your heart is broken, it's not like anyone's fault. It's just that it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
But stomped on, to me, that implies that the person is cruel. Like, just for someone to stomp on it, it's such an aggressive term. But I understand what you're saying. I just interpret it differently.
Would say in that, like, there's been times where I've been like in a relationship with someone and then they've been the one to end it and then they've been the one to restart it again. And there's been times where that's happened.
That's stomping. That's cruel.
Where now when I reflect back, I was like, were you like
toying with me?
Yeah.
That's stomping. Unless it was, I mean, to have empathy from the other side. They're not assuming they're going to do that. But
they're like going out of their way, but it's kind of like
I'm gonna restart this so I can do it all over again.
Mostly like being like probably thinking about the positives and be like, oh, like I kind of like, why did this end? And then restarting it up. And maybe upon reflection too, there was definitely things about me that I don't think made me a really good partner at the time.
I think that's interesting. I think these next few songs really do reflect on love and my particular response to it, or non-response to it, or whatever it might be. I don't know.
And I know we're not speaking specific as who the songs are about.
Oh yeah, we can. I don't mean to do that like as a rule.
Isn't Jesse like 10 years older than Billie?
He was born August 21st, 1991. He's 32.
From a younger person's perspective, it's like, oh, I'm dating this like older person, they're more mature. But then at the same time, it's like, how mature can this person be if they're seeking out someone who's so much younger?
100%. I do think that, it speaks to arrested development on the older person's part and a power thing where it's like they need to, I'm speculating, but I'm not saying for this relationship, but like in general, the idea that you would go after someone so much younger who's so inexperienced to feel like you're mature and like you have power and control.
And then I think that it's like so interesting that Billie on this album is kind of coming to terms with that. Mm-hmm. Her lyrics, ever since the beginning, have always surprised me. Just the depth.
They're very mature.
In which she goes into these songs. And it's so beautiful too that she has someone in her family.
I love it.
That she can like collaborate with.
I think that's so lovely. And seem so close.
Incredible producer. He's just done such a wonderful job on the production of this.
In general.
The production and composition, especially on this album, I think really kind of marries the first two LPs together quite nicely. So now we will go to track number, are we on number 7? This is one of my favorites.
What's it called?
L'amour de ma vie. Oh. What does that mean?
The love of my life.
It's over now.
Imagine Joe and I dancing at Akbar.
To the Challenger soundtrack.
Yeah.
This one really specifically reminds me of Happier Than Ever, because Happier Than Ever starts out with like this ukulele song at the beginning, and then it totally transforms and evolves into this like rock, deep, emotive ballad. There's also a song on Happier Than Ever where it's like, you better lock your phone. And da-na-na when we're alone. It's almost like it kind of has like a polka vibe to it.
Keep saying that.
I feel like this song also has a lot of like polka sounding music.
Yeah.
And the first half of this song definitely has that like polka vibe.
And then it goes to like EDM dance music.
I went on a run yesterday and I kept fast forwarding to this part of the song and running to it. It's over now. It almost has like an early 2000s like vibe. It was really fun. I love this song. We were kind of talking during this song about how it's about
someone like processing a breakup where they broke up with the partner and reflecting back on the relationship, and the person that was broken up with moved on really quickly, but they were like deeply infatuated with the singer and the singer like kind of didn't like that or whatever, but then seems a little bit like confused or maybe hurt by how fast they moved on, but then at the end is like, no, this was always right. Like, you said I was the love of your life, but you were never the love of my life, and I didn't want to be like around you. And kind of coming to that realization and then going and partying.
Allison was like hilariously narrating the song because I was asking her about it. She's like, it's like them kind of processing in real time and then celebrating at the end. And I feel like if there was one pop culture image to represent this song, it would be when
I know what you're gonna say. I know what you're gonna say.
When Nicole Kidman divorced Tom Cruise. She's in the street like celebrating with her arms up. With her divorce papers.
I love that picture.
when the divorce was finalized. I feel like it completely represents the song so well.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I just like love this song a lot because I feel like there are so many songs about being infatuated or being so upset that someone left. And that is like a classic love song story. But there just aren't as many love songs about ambivalence in relationships or in love. And, you know, somebody that experiences some ambivalence sometimes, I like to have a song that I feel like kind of captures a piece of that reality, because that's a reality for people. Also, it's a great song. And also, I love her voice.
Yes.
It sounds so like, I don't know what she's doing, but it sounds so like, yeah, what's the beginning of the song?
I love how you do like the most nasally singing voice.
I wish you the best for the
She
rest
kind of
of
like-
your life.
yeah,
It's
how
kind of
would
like
you-
country and sarcastic.
Yeah.
And I just really, I've never heard her voice sound like that. And I really like it.
Yeah, I think what you're trying to say is like it has like a twang to it.
Yeah, just kind of like,
Without
whatever.
A polka twang, if you will.
L'amour de ma vie and The Greatest, I think, are my favorite. And Birds of a Feather, but just because it's fun to dance that one. Birds of a Feather. But yeah, I'd say this one's great,
But not the greatest.
but not the greatest.
Quite literally, because the one before it was called the greatest.
But I think what like connects me, and what I like about a lot of Billie songs is there is a clear evolution in feeling or thought.
Yeah.
So it tells an emotional story, which I love.
How did she get to this point? Like how in her experience, she was homeschooled in a very creative LA family.
Yeah.
Like where did this depth of lyricism and sound come from?
From the old country.
Oh yeah, wait, Allison also did. We were recording, but Allison's like, of course Billie's a good storyteller. She's Irish.
It's true. It's true.
If you were to sing a song about how you got that C in geometry.
Me and my friend in geometry class, we had a little song we made up. It was like geometry. Geometry. So unfortunately, I can't think of anything else except for that.
You
Gotta get that A. A is for Allison.
So that was the diner that we just listened to, which is the famous one where Billie portrays a stalker.
You know, it's interesting now. So we like listened to the last three and I have a new perspective on this. I think that she like experiences infatuation maybe. And then like it made her think about those feelings and how they manifest. And then maybe what the person on the other side of it feels.
I really like again, it ties into the polka music.
I heard it this time. I was like, Joe's right.
That like bass line is really fun. It's a very creepy song, but it's kind of tongue in cheek in a way too.
It is. I mean, honestly, I kind of found it a little forgettable, like only in the sense that like it's really hard for me to hear the words in this song for some reason. And it kind of goes dun-dun-dun, like over and over again. So I feel like
that.
Oh, I liked at the end how she whispers the numbers.
Yeah. Of the phone. Yeah.
I didn't even hear that. Whose phone number do you think that is? Should we call it? Should we?
Yes, yeah.
807. I can't be the only person who's done this though.
Hello? Hello? Wait, I can't hear you. Hello?
Billie.
Hello? Hold on, I'm gonna call you back.
You can text this phone number.
Our first celebrity guest.
The next song is Bittersweet, but sweet is spelled S-U-I-T-E.
Thoughts? I
I
wasn't
think
really
that
sure.
this song is kind of like what Wildflower was for me, where I overlook when I listened to this album the first time.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a good summary. I think if I were to just like do another long play and this were to come up, I'd really enjoy it because it would tie into the name, like it's a suite. So it ties in all the songs together in a way.
Is that what that means? I mean, this is
Yeah.
what it says on Genius. This title is a play of the word bittersweet, converting the suffix sweet into the homophonic sweet. Seeming if it's a minor change, the conversion of sweet compels the idea that Eilish has been left bitter in a hotel suite on her own with no tinge of pleasure.
Oh.
And just looking at the lyrics, I thought that she was in the hotel room with someone and it just wasn't giving her pleasure.
Oh. Well, I saw suite more as in like an orchestral suite which I think it does this too because it's playing instrumentation from like the diner. It's playing some of the polka
You'd
sounding
think
stuff.
Genius would have picked up on that. They're the musical experts, but
The
no.
like ending music of Skinny was playing in there too. So
I like that.
I think it's all kind of swirled together.
This song finds Eilish feeling as if she's distant from her own desires and emotions while idealizing a relationship in her dreams. Confliction is a clear emotion in the song as she knows she has to protect herself but strives for a healthy relationship. Maybe the song doesn't do it for me because it's too relatable.
Well, no time to look in the mirror right now.
No time. We have to go to a party.
All right, now we listen to the last song, Blue, which is my favorite song on the album. I'll say like a record producer right now.
I'll just set the scene for you. He's wearing a necklace with a pendant on it, like a circular pendant. And then And then he's wearing this like
It's a
dark
special pendant.
It is. We can't tell you what's on it. Sorry. And there's a dark green shirt that's like kind of one of those shirts you kind of like leave half unbuttoned. And he's wearing his headphones for the podcast. And he was raising up his hands, describing what would be on the stage at a concert version of this song. And I was like, am I talking to Phineas himself? I think you dress cooler than Phineas, to be honest.
This is my favorite song on the album, and it's another one, as it did for Happier Than Ever, where the song transforms halfway through. I almost like the second half more, but then I appreciate the song in total because I'm so excited to the lead up of it. And there's this like really moving lyric where Allison mentioned it kind of reminds her of that song Midnight Rain that Taylor Swift
She does
did,
it a few times in that one, but yeah.
Deep voice. And I remember that in Midnight Rain, that really stands out to me.
It's like switches to a more masculine perspective.
Yeah. I forget what the lyrics are in Blue, but it's like, I sleep 7 hours a week, that's 21 a month or something like that.
21 hours a week, I think. 3 hours a day.
Oh, 3 hours a day, 21 hours a week. And kind of like this idea of what I assume now is like almost like obsession.
Well, it's interesting because the first half seems very romantic to me, like about a romance. And the second half seems more about someone's experience, like growing up famous.
Oh, okay.
And then this is really interesting. I'm going to read from this. So first of all, what you said about being like two parts and really hearing that. Well, what's interesting is this is a reworked version of two of Eilish's previously unreleased songs. The first song is True Blue, which Eilish and her brother recorded when they were 14, 18. The other is Born Blue, which was going to be featured as track 6 on Eilish's 2021 album Happier Than Ever. But Eilish just couldn't figure it out.
Well, they figured it out for this album.
They did, and they added all the melodies and choruses from the other songs, except for The Diner, likely because it's from the perspective of someone who isn't Eilish. And then the second half covers somebody who grew up in a cold shoulder family and their personality now that they've grown up, which that resonates. Like I was feeling like it wasn't about a romance anymore in the second half.
But what about the I don't blame you, but I can't change you?
I don't know.
Raised by your father's hand.
Maybe.
So I got that like you are the way you are because of the way that your parents raised you. And so I did think of relationships when I heard it.
I guess it could be like the relationship with someone and then you're like focusing on the why it's not working and it's because of their upbringing. But I could also see that being you were born reaching for your mother's hands, victim of your father's plans to rule the world, too afraid to step outside, paranoid and petrified of what you've heard. I mean, I think that could be a woman or a man, but since Billie's bi, I guess it doesn't really say it's not a relationship. But then she says they could say the same about me. Maybe it's like a peer, like a music. I don't know. Because it sounds like she's talking to somebody else who's like an artist.
But yeah, I was just really moved by this song. I just could envision Billie sinking in the water of her album cover, just like slowly like going deeper into the dark. It's just very like haunting and beautiful at the same time.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think of, this is really weird, but it makes me think of like, okay, you remember the mirror of Erised? The mirror you look in, it shows you your deepest desires.
Okay.
And then Harry sees his family.
Yeah.
And then Dumbledore's like, men have wasted away in front of this mirror and, you know, you have to go out into the real world and live or something like that. This makes me think of the idea of like looking into a mirror of all your desires and all the pain you felt or all, I don't know, I just like being like trapped in it, but it's still really beautiful and entrancing.
Yeah.
But you have to swim up to the light.
I love that. So as an interpretation of the entire album, now that we've sat here and really listened to all again, like what are the themes? Like what do you take away?
When we hit that third song and we kind of saw the connection between the first three, it made me think this is really like something to be analyzed. So I feel like anything I'm going to say now is probably limited by how fresh it is for us. But yeah, I think it's a lot about desire and how you are positioned within desire, whether you're infatuated, you're conflicted or ambivalent about it.
Yeah, I think the same thing. I really like the idea, the album covered this open door and she's falling like deep into what I assume is like the ocean or some large body of water.
Or subconscious, perhaps.
And exactly what I was thinking is like basically how there's like so many meanings that you can tack onto that. Like we as human beings live on land and there's so much of like the ocean that we'll never explore, kind of like our unexplored like emotions or desires and something like that. So I think I kind of attached that theme, like water is the color of this album is blue.
It's blue. The album cover, it's really weird because it is so symbolic and it makes you like feel a lot. When I first saw it, I was like, wait, isn't this the previous album cover? Like there was something about it that felt really familiar to me, even though then I realized it's not at all like the other album covers.
There is a familiarity.
And that was kind of uncanny to me. And I'm sure that was intentional.
Her music video though, Everything I Wanted, her car drives into the water. She's sinking in the water. So maybe it's
that scares me.
I think she has a genuine fear of that.
I do too. I have a lot of fears, but that's one.
Sinking water. Yeah, I just think it was a really like if you were to tie in this like Spirited Away theme.
I mean, I guess when I think of Spirited Away, I will admit I do like that movie. I just think that I saw it too late. Like I was an adult, and so part of it just kind of scared me.
Yeah, my old roommate, I watched it with him because he's like, I've never seen it before. We have to watch it. And then we watched it. He's like, that was childish.
I didn't think so. That was kind of like weird in a way that I don't understand. Like I think it was almost meant for children who like, in the sense that like it's so dreamlike.
You just kind of like
that like
latch on and be
kids can
yeah,
really.
I guess this is what it is.
But for me, it kind of scares me.
Yeah.
But I guess like in that movie, it's like there is the component about designer we talked about earlier, but also you like go into the abyss or your subconscious or whatever. You go on a hero's journey and then you emerge on the other side of it. So
does the character emerge on the other side?
she
in
survives,
this
yeah.
album?
Well, that's unfortunately my computer just died, so I can't read this fact to you. But there's I forget why. Something about this particular song speaks to an apparent theory. Oh wait, it's the very last line. The outro is, "When do I get to hear more?"
Oh yeah.
Apparently,
yeah.
there's a big fan theory that this is a double album.
No.
And there's some more reasons to why, but I don't have the text.
That's so funny. She was quoted saying how she was like thought it was reckless of artists to come out with all these different variations of an album, but she's doing it too.
But I guess what she was trying to say is that she's all recyclable material, I think. Okay. But like, yeah,
You're
I think
still producing plastics.
based on that and the like, I was outed, I think, which is not a bad thing. I think she speaks her mind. She's not afraid to. And then like later on, she might be like, maybe I didn't mean it quite like that. And that's we're human. That's fine.
Yeah.
But maybe she spoke a little too quickly on that one. And I only read the soundbite quote.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know what the context was.
Again, the album is kind of being like over scrutinized on the internet, and how the internet's it is a very mean place. People are vicious.
I live in fear of the first negative comment we're going to get about our podcast. That girl, she's too loud.
You just be like, I don't blame you.
I've said it every episode.
But I can't change you.
This made me even more of a Billie Eilish fan. I already was a big fan. I just think she's so talented. And also, I will say, this is like a silly litmus test, but when I was visiting at home, the Grammys were on and Billie and Phineas performed What Was I Made For? My mom's like, I really like Billie Eilish. And
is great.
she liked the music. She liked like her style. Like she was really into her. And I was like, wow, this is somebody who has such talent that like, even though she's very Gen Z, dresses very Gen Z, my mom's like, she's pretty good.
And therefore you like her.
No, I liked her before.
Favorite song?
Honestly, the stretch from Birds of a Feather through L'amour de ma vie. Yeah, I think those are my favorite. And then I really do like Blue as well.
I think Blue's my favorite and Leah Moore is my second favorite. And then the rest, it's like, I love them all, but I kind of like need them all to play together because I just like love the journey.
I'm glad we did this because I would have like listened eventually, but I wasn't like, oh, I need to sit down.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too because we played in the car and we just kind of got lost in conversation. I was like, I must not like it because we're just
chatting.
But
as you can tell from this podcast,
we love it.
We love
we just
chatting.
love to chat in general.
chat, GBT.
All right. Well, we are on our way to a friend's birthday party.
So we have to go.
Thank you so much for listening to Queer Cinema Catchup. I'm Joe.
And I'm Allison.
And we will see you.
See you soon. Follow us on Spotify, Apple. Email us at queercinemacatchup@gmail.com. Instagram, TikTok. Thank you very much. And good night.
When we all fall asleep, where do we go?
When do we get to hear more?